Yeah, you must keep quiet. If I record it, your husband hear it that you say it's the devil. Listen. Guys, listen. You are on air now, right? Okay, guys. This is another topic that you need to cover, right? Because I was browsing through your scheme of work yesterday. Then I discovered that we need to cover this. It's not so much difficult, right? I've already told you what you need to cover in your exam. Right. So this one is just for knowledge sake for now. Perhaps in your second term, there might be questions from this. But it's very important as far as project management is concerned. Right. Project plan. Project plan. What do we mean by a project plan? Anyway, a project plan is like a briefcase. You know what I mean by a briefcase of a project? Briefcase. You got what I mean? Briefcase, right? It's more or less like a business plan. You know what is a business plan? Last year, when I was teaching you economics, not economics, entrepreneurship. I don't know why economics is coming to my mind now. I love economics, right? When I was teaching you entrepreneurship, we talked about a business plan. Then I explained to you that a business plan is such an important portfolio that without that, the business will not be able to do well. Right? It's the same thing when we compare it to a project plan. Right? You need to put into the plan how you intend to run your project and the resources that you needed, the scope of the project, everything about the project. Right? You encase it into that briefcase. That briefcase is what we are going to refer to in this context as the project plan. Remember what I used to tell you that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So in business environment, you must have a project plan to run your business. So in the same vein, in a project environment, you must have a project plan. Do you understand? If you can be able to remember the importance of a business plan to a business, then you know that project plan is as important as any other thing. Without that, you cannot be able to run a project. Perhaps you need finance, right? Sponsorship to do the project. You know what they will ask you to present? Say, where's your project plan? Right? Just like if you need finance in a business, if you are running a business, they will ask you, where's your business plan? Right. A project without a project plan is not a project. Remember what I told you when we were doing the characteristics of a project. What do we say? We said the success of a project is reliant on the stakeholders. Then we talk about the framework. Projects have got operational framework. Do you understand what I mean? My friend, you must focus, please. And don't keep on asking me the same thing that I've said already. Focus as a brief. So, what I'm trying to say is, or what I'm trying to galvanize or emphasize, if you will, that a project plan is very fundamental as far as the success of a project is concerned. Right? It's like if you don't have a project plan, it's like you are a sailor or a ship in an ocean without a compass. How will you imagine that? Or you are in a flight and that flight cannot be got no compass and is not seen in the radar. You know, if they don't see a flight in the radar, that means it's lost, it disappeared. Do you understand? Okay. So you need to have a project plan in terms of how you're gonna run your project. You need to strategize. Remember what we were saying when we were doing a business plan. When you're preparing a project plan, it can help you to envisage if your project is going to be successful. It can help you to oversee, to see the difficulties before it happens. Do you understand what I mean? So it's very fundamental. Now you need to know as well the what we call it, the components, right? The component, if you will, of a business plan. Oh no, not a business plan this time around. Of a project plan, right? The components. These are the components. What do we mean by components? Component means parts, the segments, right? If we say component of a car, what does it mean? Parts of a car, right? If we say component of a computer, we are talking about the different parts that made up a computer, right? So in the same vein, when we say component of a project plan, we are talking about the different aspects that made up of a project plan. In other words, you can say the composition, what makes up a project plan to make it a real project plan. Do you understand what I mean? So the first thing we need to talk about here, these things are not arranged in order. It's not in chronological order, right? You can't say it must have a problem statement first before this. Okay, let's talk about the problem statement, right? What do we mean by the problem statement? It's a statement that details out what the existing problem that your project is seeking to address. Do you get the point of what I'm trying to say? For example, I told you many times that you don't institute a project just for instituting a project. You don't initiate a project just to impress other people. Of course, if you are impressing other people, or if it's for the problem for just impressing people, of course, it got a purpose, right? Okay, what I'm trying to emphasize here is that one can initiate a project, one, if there is a problem that you want to address, right? Or there is an opportunity that you want to leverage. You want to leverage an opportunity. You know what we mean by leverage? Taking advantage, right? Of existing opportunity, right? For example, I explained something, I gave you a hypothetical example of a problem statement or problem that could generate or that could inform the initiation of a project. I say, for example, let's say at the beginning of the year, we enrolled, right, many students more than what we can cater for, right? We know we got limited classes here, number of classes. If we decide to enroll more than what we can accommodate here, it constitutes a problem. True of us, right? So by virtue of that problem now, how are we going to address it? We need to look for a way of addressing such problem. Either we must see if we can be able to initiate a project that can be able to address the problem. Right. So there we can talk about different options that we can use to be able to solve the problem. For example, we can say let's be doing the evening and morning classes. It's a possible option, right? Okay. Let's say let's be doing online. It's a possible option. Or we can go out and look for a factory that is empty, then put the student, all those kind of stuff. Right. So the problem statement must be articulately stated, must be well defined in a project plan. So that anyone that is looking at the project plan will say, okay, this is the problem. That is why the project is being initiated. Do you understand? For example, if you present such document to the sponsor, they can say, okay, this is the problem that the project is going to address at the beginning, at the end of the day. Did you see how important it is? Right. So that you can be able to convince, persuade whosoever that needs to be on board, the stakeholders, right? Then the project objectives, what the project is set out to achieve in a well-defined manner. Right. Remember we said when you are formulating objectives, even project statement, it must be smart. Smart. You know what is smart? SMART. Smart is an acronym. Acronym. You know what you mean by acronym? You know what we're talking about? It must be smart, specific, yes, measurable. You did it, right? S stand for what? Yeah. Yeah. Achievable, realistic, time bound, all those kind of stuff. Okay. So when you are formulating your project plan, specifically your project objectives, whatever, it needs to be smart. Do you understand what I mean? You should adhere to that principle of smart, right? Yeah. Specific. Do you understand what I mean? So that anybody that is looking at your project plan will say, okay, these are the things that needs to be achieved, right? And it must be something achievable, right? Don't try to, yeah, don't exaggerate. You know what I mean by exaggeration, right? Something you know that cannot be achieved within a specific period of time, then you include it there. That is why we say objective must be time bound as well, right? Because project itself it got its own duration, deadline. Then, of course, you need to include the project key stakeholders. The stakeholders, right? Who are the stakeholders, by the way? The stakeholders, by way of inclusion, right? You can say stakeholders are those people that can benefit or be affected by the project. Do you understand what I mean? Because when you are including the stakeholders, it must have to be inclusive. There are certain people that stand to benefit from the project. Obviously, you include them as stakeholders. There will be perhaps certain people that we start to lose as a result of the project. You need to include them as well. Right. Then you need to include the WBS. What is WBS? WBS. What is it? That thing. What is that thing? Not organogram. WBS is not an organogram. Marcus, can you help us, please? Hmm. Huh? Can you please help us? What is it? What is WBS? Amen. Okay, let me help you. Work breakdown structure. What is work breakdown structure? Work breakdown structure. No, 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 no. That is an organogram. This is work. We are talking about the task that needs to be done in the project that has been broken down into work packages. And the work packages arranged in a hierarchical order. That is work breakdown structure. I've shown you already example of that. You've done it in your task, so why did you for? Um, no, 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 my friend, you are confusing it. It's not that. It's not that. You wrong. You wrong. That is not a work breakdown. When you say no, you're wrong. You say work breakdown structure doesn't involve people, right? It's the work that needs to be done. I'm not talking about organogram, right? For example, let's say for example, you have a project, right? The name, then you break it down. First of all, identify the main task. You did it in your task, right? In your task, they say three main tasks, then later two subtasks. So it's a kind of a from top to bottom or bottom up. It was you had three levels, right? So that is work breakdown structure. It must have to be included in your project plan. No, there's nothing like time frame there. No, no, no. There's nothing. See what I'm saying? Huh? No. No, he's confusing himself now. Right? For example. No, that thing is not that thing. I'm not talking about organogram. Right? For example, let's say this is a project of renovating toilet. Renovating toilet. Right? Then you first of all identify the main task. Right? Let's say foundation. Are you understanding it? Foundation is an element, right? Then there are certain things that you need to do on for the foundation, right? That goes along with it, right? Foundation, you can have maybe the trench. You know what I mean by the trench, the hole, right? Then you pour concrete foundation. Then you lay the block in foundation. You see, when you complete the whole of this task, then it makes this subtask. This is the subtask I mean. When you complete the whole of these three subtasks, then you complete this main task. This is what I'm talking about. This is work breakdown structure. Any doubt? You did it in your task. Uh, That is what we mean. So in your project plan, it must be included. So that once any person that is going to look at the plan, will actually know what needs to be done. Do you understand what I mean? This is a work breakdown structure. Not the topic, the project, the name of the project. Not needs the activities that needs to be done. Yeah. So you first of all, this top one we're gonna be the main activities or the main task, right? Main task, right? This one sub task, yeah, right? Don't worry about them. Focus. Don't worry about it. They don't want to learn, right? This one could be one, right? This is one. This two, three. This is 1.1. Okay. This one gonna be 1.11, right? This one gonna be 1.12, 1.13. This one gonna be then continuously, just like that. You understand what I mean? So when you look at it, how does it look? It's in form of a tree, right? Hierarchical structure. This is how work breakdown structure looks like. Yeah, talk. Yeah, infrastructure. Yeah. The task activities. Make sure what you identify is the task or activities, task activities that needs to be done. So it breaks it down to a work package. Remember, we say a work package is the lowest task in the WBS, which means tasks that can be done within a short period of time. What it means is this: it's like you see, have you been to the quarry before? Yeah, you know quarry, right? Okay. You see, what they do is that they put explosive in the rock, then it comes out, they call it boulder, big rocks, right? So what happens to that boulder, big rocks? They will start breaking it down into granites that we use to build houses. So it's like that. The whole project now is now being decomposed. We call it decomposition. 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 Which is the breakdown, right, of projects into into manageable work packages. That is the process that is involved. Packages. Does it make sense to you? Right? You decompose it. You break down the project into manageable work packages. Then you represent it like this in form of a tree diagram. No, there's no time frame there. The one that you're gonna put a time frame is the Gantt. All right, guys, when we say budget in a project, what are we talking about? Tori, hello, focus. Yesterday you're not here, today you are here, you coming here to disturb. Huh? Yeah, but today you are here now, you must focus. Né? Okay. Now, when we say prepare